So, hey, hello, and welcome once again back to Podcast with Neil, PL Weekly, and a very crucial fixture today for all Liverpool fans joining in. And for that, I have got three Liverpool fans with me today. Yes, it's a mighty big lineup. And to introduce them on screen, let us have all of them on screen. Right now, we have from to my left is Mr. Kunal Singh Chauhan. He has been to Liverpool and watched a match from the Cop end, and that's quite an amazing feat because I dream of that. We all dream about that. Beneath him is Mihik. It's his friend. He'll introduce himself because he's debuting in this channel. And below me, always below United fans, is my best mate. He's also Neil, another Neil. So Neil with Neil. He's been my mate since college, and we have had our ups and downs like the Carragers and Nevilles. But we, at the end of the day, we do look out for each other. So without much further ado, welcome guys to the channel. All of you unmute yourselves. Kunalji is still on mute.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kunalji, let's start with the lineups. Somebody is echoing. Let me check. Is it echoing again? No. Okay. I'll find. I'll just mute, unmute. I've sent the link, Kunalji. If you just check, do spread it amongst your folks. Or let me just bring up the lineup first. First things first. Okay. Chalo, one football again. इन्होंने sponsor नहीं करता अभी तक. Let's hope one football. If you're watching, do sponsor डाल देना. Would help a channel like me. Okay. So Liverpool's formation. It's surprising to see Jordan Henderson and Fabinho. We'll talk about the injury crisis a bit later. Arnold and Robertson, Trent and Robertson on the fullbacks, Wijnaldum, Oxlade, Thiago on that midfield, and that front three of Salah, Mane, and Firmino. But about Southampton, they go with their 4-4-2. Walker Peters, Bertrand, the fullbacks, Bednarek and Jack Stephens. Djenepo is playing, Armstrong is playing Ward-Prowse and Diallo in midfield, and Ings and Walcott preferred to the Che Adams. And so, Kunalji, starting with you, happy with Liverpool formation?
Yes, absolutely happy. First of all, the biggest reason is Thiago. He's back now. And I think he'll be central. Ox will be on the right and Wijnaldum will primarily be on the left. That's what I feel. Because I think we spoke last time as well, Neil, right? That Thiago is the guy who's going to do all the distribution for us, right? One surprise here for us was Henderson today, that he's playing as a centre back. Now, I did have a discussion with some of the Liverpool fans, and I think primarily the reason was because Southampton as a team doesn't have too many centre forwards who you can say are aerially very good, and they're not very tall, right? So we don't need somebody like a Reece Williams or a Nat Phillips over there. And regarding the pace, we have that with Henderson. So yeah.
Right. So moving on to the Southampton lineup, Neil, I would request you to pay a bit more attention here because we talked about how Southampton versus United match and how Southampton was supposed to be dominating. So I'll just shift to the Southampton lineup right now. कहाँ गया? यहाँ चला आया. चलो, Southampton, their proper 4-4-2. Just enlighten us how they're going to play, especially with that speedy Walcott up top.
Well, I think as it has been happening all this time, Liverpool will have a lot more possession than the opposition team, and they would be attacking us on their counters with the clinical finishing of Ings, with the pace of Walcott. you get a lot of creativity from the likes of Ward-Prowse and Dnepr as well. So I'm not shocked that they're playing a 4-4-2, a straightforward 4-4-2, and it's a shock as well that maybe Hendo is playing in a defense. Maybe we are safeguarding our defenders, since we have very limited center backs at this point of time. With just we have to rely on Reece Williams and Nat Phillips. And provided, yes, the fact is that I don't think they have a very good tall lineup to go against with the headers and the set pieces as well from a long distance, except for Ward-Prowse, obviously. So I think it's a good lineup, but honestly, I would have liked Thiago to be rested for this match, because we have some more important matches coming up ahead in a few days as well. That includes that what's that name of the club? That small club from Manchester United. Yeah, right. So yeah, so we have some these matches. So I think Thiago should have been rested, but yeah, it's all right. But since Hendo is playing back there, so yeah, it's important. And it's not surprising to me at all that they are playing a 4-4-2 straightforward, because they would rely completely on their counter attacking. They won't be getting too much of balls or anything. So completely on that attacking with Walcott's pace, clinical finishing of Ings, providing assists from or getting through balls from arms, the like of Armstrong, Ward-Prowse. I think it was much more predictable from their part.
Now, Southampton, we all know how devastating they have been in recent matches, how amazing Ward-Prowse's delivery have been. So going to Mihik, right?
Yeah,
Sorry for mispronouncing your
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Mihik, we heard Neil talk about how important Thiago should be in that lineup. We know that he has had his injury problems and all, but Thiago on
Yeah.
his day, it's not like a Paul Pogba conundrum that he has his days, he doesn't. But mostly, if you have a Thiago Alcantara in midfield, your midfield is mostly sorted. Now suddenly he is back into the foil. You guys have a FA Cup match, and then to that small club Manchester United, who are, by the way, level on points with you folks, putting the title race heat on. So how do you think that Thiago would fare in this kind of a crunch match, coming back of a lengthy injury layoff?
See, I don't think that it's going to impact much because I feel that Southampton are uh, going to go a bit conservative. Like, I feel that they will play with more of a like a low block, and that's why Thiago will get more time on the ball, I feel. And the main reason for bringing in a player like Thiago was to unlock low block defenses, which have been a struggle for Liverpool in the past. And I can see him making a real impact, especially because I feel that because of our depleted centre back positions, you know Henderson and also I think even Wijnaldum, because there have been instances in the past few 1 or 2 seasons where even Wijnaldum has we have seen a back three being formed where Henderson, Wijnaldum, Fabinho, one or more of these midfielders have dropped in alongside the centre backs, and we shifted more to a back five than a back four. So that would mean that Thiago is the sole presence in the center of midfield, along with maybe Salah and Mane dropping in a bit deeper as they always do. So I guess Thiago will be pivotal.
Mhm.
It depends because Southampton, I feel they can come with two approaches because it's a has neutral. So you can not rule out them being really pressing Liverpool from the get-go, but they'll also be wary that pressing Liverpool from the get-go is never a good idea for any opposition, because Liverpool have the capacity to continue with the same intensity for 90 minutes. So for me, I would say that pressing scenario would continue for the first maybe three-fourth of the first half, and then depending upon the scoreline, say if Southampton score early, I think they'll shift to a low block, and then Thiago would really
Right.
you know
Come into his own in
unblock
the game,
defenses.
right?
And I really feel that with shaky defense, I can see Southampton scoring first, but I think Thiago will be key to that resurgence.
Now Thiago has been immense. Coming back to Kunalji, we have talked about how Thiago is my favorite player to watch in that Liverpool side, and I love actually how he dictates play from that deep of a midfield. Now, I'll come to the injury crisis a bit later, but let's just have a look at the table first. So here is the table. Here you see Liverpool, only 2 matches, won out of the last 5, which is not worrying, but which is a bit of a concern, if you ask me. So United getting there, going through the crunch fixtures, Leicester coming in, City and Tottenham will always pile up the pressure. But do you think that Thiago, despite of the defenders who we all know Liverpool are missing very dearly, Thiago coming back can actually have an impact on this? That's the first part of the question. And second, maybe because of due to this injury hit Liverpool squad, because last year we all knew that there was a massive difference between the top 2 and the rest of the teams, and suddenly Liverpool are vulnerable right now. So maybe Van Dijk and Joe Gomez being injured, apart from them, Liverpool are getting back their players one by one, and suddenly does Thiago give that all out impetus for Liverpool to be dominating games again?
Yes, absolutely. Uh, because I think we had discussed this last time also, Neil, that you know the game against Villa that we lost, and we were pressing very, very, very high, right? That is something we are going to do throughout this season. Uh, the reason for that is pretty simple. Klopp just wants to dominate games, and the strategy is very simple. Create so many chances that you eventually end up with the highest number of goals. I think this was something City did in 2017-18, and
Right.
also so this is a pretty similar approach to that. High press, compress the other side, create so many chances that the opposition doesn't really have another chance. And specifically teams like so when we talk about teams like the matches that we have actually drawn, right? One thing that has lagged over there is of course the intensity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the second is there hasn't been, I would say, as much control in the midfield as we would have or Klopp would have liked to have, right? Because
Right.
if you look at those games, right, the opposition is sitting back. They're all just waiting for the opportunities, I mean, the chances to be created. And all we were doing was, passing around here and there, and in the midst of it, you get one odd chance, right? Ideally,
Right.
what you want is a distributor who can go wide, either towards Trent Alexander-Arnold or somebody like a Robertson, and from there you can whip the crosses in. Liverpool is very good at rebounds, so of course they will again play the same game and again create the same number of chances. This is exactly the same kind of stuff what City did. They created the highest number of chances in that season, and that was the reason why they were able to score that many goals. In this particular season, from the start, we knew that Klopp is going to deploy the same philosophy this time. He wanted a central midfielder like Thiago who can distribute the ball better than Henderson does,
Right.
uh, just to enforce the same kind of gameplay. But the problem in the middle happened because of injuries, right? So we didn't have those kind of players who were actually distributing the ball that well, and we were not getting those many chances now. With Thiago coming in, I think our dominance in games will be much higher, and so we'll no longer be, hopefully, will no longer be called as Robin Hood FC, which we have been this season quite a lot. We've been dropping points against smaller teams. So yeah, that's something we do look forward to. And obviously, if you look at Premier League as a whole, right, there are 19 teams to be beaten, right?
Right.
And if you look at the table right now, it's something like 33 odd points or 36 odd points, right? So all you need to do is beat 12 teams, right? Or 13 or 14, right? And if you,
Sounds very simple, doesn't it? But it's
yeah,
actually very hard work.
so that's the eventual aim. So if you can, I mean, if you can confidently beat 15 teams, that's the league for you. And so that's, I think, will be a pivotal moment for us. If Thiago stays fit, we should be able to.
Obvious Owen alert. Like if you Owen once ended a match, like if you win a match, if you score a goal, you win the match, like something like that on that front. And, and on that note, those of you who have joined in, just like the video and leave a subscribe. Help me reach 300 subscribers as soon as possible. Share with your friends, retweet if you're from Twitter, and it would mean a lot. I've started this venture in lockdown after going jobless, not like the managers, but I've started a venture. Indian hai bhai, support kar do. उतना ही आशा है. Okay, going back to Neil, my nemesis Neil, and namesake and nemesis at the same time. So I actually converse with him on a daily basis. We talk about tactics and stuff and other college memories amalgamated with the old fact. So he was very vocal about how Liverpool have some juju over them, where every defender that's playing in a match, one by one, they're being cut down. So it's very obvious that they are very much rocked at the back. The rocks at the back have been rocked. So, Neil, if I may ask you, these two pairs who have been forming such a successful bond over the last 2.5 seasons, showing utter dominance on the field, do you think that Liverpool actually miss Joe Gomez more than we all know Van Dijk is irreplaceable at this point of time? He's the best defender of the world, a Ballon d'Or actually robbed from him. A United fan saying that, because that's the truth of it. So do you think would Joe Gomez in this space would have proven himself to be another leader in this vital cog of a midfield?
See, I was talking to you the other day, and there were some points that I mentioned. That we are already on the top of the league, and we are on the top of the table, and probably with Van Dijk and Joe Gomez, we would have been there, but with a bigger margin, with conceding lesser goals. I don't think we would be conceding 7 goals against Aston Villa if Alisson was there in the goal. I don't think we would be drawing matches against Newcastle, West Bromwich, Brighton, and all those, because that creates a. I mean, Van Dijk doesn't always defend; he creates a lot of chances. We have seen the UCL match against Bayern Munich as well. Sudden flashback. Anyway, at the same point of time, I feel that Joe Gomez in this vacancy of Van Dijk would have been very good for his own growth. When you see the main defender, the main center back out of the picture, you get a clear chance to make your own presence, make your own prominence over there, and make your position very stable in your team, which we have seen that he gets a lot of confidence to see that Van Dijk is beside him. So if he makes a wrong run or makes a wrong call, Van Dijk is there to save him. But when Van Dijk is not there, I think it would have been a much more important part for him to play, which he's missing right now, completely off the table for him right now. That's considering a point. Yeah, it is very disappointing because we know that maybe Joe Gomez is not on the levels of Van Dijk at any point, but we still have high hopes of him, because honestly, to be speaking, except the Crystal Palace match, we didn't have such impressive results. Drawing against Newcastle, West Bromwich, Brighton, and few more, which we should have won, and by at least 2 goal margins or so. And at the same point of time, conceding goals like for nothing, for peanuts, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing, and it's actually I'm a bit nervous as well, because I'm seeing Hendo in the back line, and I don't know how it's going to turn up or how it's going to turn out to be, because I don't think he would be playing in the back line, or he would be moving up or doing something, because the only defensive minded player that I see in this entire 11 is Fabinho. All the other players are either transitional players or maybe attacking minded player. I don't see Thiago to be a very defense minded player. We can call him a playmaker, but not a proper defensive minded player. Fabinho is the only one. So I don't know how it would work. I don't think that Klopp would restrict both Trent and Robertson from moving in and out over there. So it's a bit very difficult. I think we were going to see something unique from Klopp over here. He's trying to do something new. Let's see. Let's just hope for it.
Mihik, same on this note. Do you agree with Neil on this, that Klopp is trying to actually do something unique, or is he just filling in the gaps like he has actually no other options?
Well, personally, I would have liked to see Nat Phillips get more chances. Like I was actually pretty impressed with whatever minutes he has got yet in the league. And while Reece Williams has, showed up as well and he stepped up to the mark, but I feel that Nat Phillips has the adequate physicality to sustain in the Premier League. And personally, I would have wanted, I agree with Neil in this, that, I would have liked Thiago to come on from the bench and maybe Henderson as the pivot, and Fabinho and Nat Phillips as the centre backs.
It's a big
Apart
of a risk,
from
right?
that,
In such a crucial
yeah,
match,
it is a
play.
bit of a risk. It is a bit of a risk. I agree. The one thing I would say is that I think Henderson's main inclusion would be because we want to keep that option of punting in a long ball behind the Southampton defense, especially because they have a slow centre back like Westergaard, and we could catch them napping at the back. So, Fabinho in that regard, I haven't seen that much of, those good long pings as, reminiscent of Van Dijk. So I guess that's why Henderson could have been included. The rest is up to the game. Like we'll have to see what the tactics are. But yeah,
It's a very difficult task. So just before I actually
yeah,
move to the thing, I just want to show you all something that regarding the table, if you see the top two positions are joint top, the next actually two positions, if you consider City's game in hand, next three are joint second, and all the way up to 10th position in the Premier League. It's all colossal at this point of time. You see 10 teams in within the gap of 5 points, and can anyway at one or two slip ups here and there, and any team can at any point of time would be in the race of a Premier League. I know it's highly unlikely at this point of time, but who knows, in this fixture congestion, in this COVID hit pandemic era football, as well as a five substitution limited game, it is very difficult. Okay, so moving back to Kunalji, uh, let's dive into a bit of a tactical analysis point of view. So but before that, सब लोग जो देख रहे हो थोड़ा सब्सक्राइब मार दो, 300 तक पहुंचा दो भाई को. It would be very helpful of you, and I'd be actually sending out rosogollas once I hit the 1000 subscriber mark. So so it's first come first serve basis. जल्दी जल्दी सब्सक्राइब मार दो. We'll move on to the tactics section right now. So Kunalji, starting with you, I'm just highlighting a part in from Ralph Hasenhutl's last season, where how Southampton actually maintained their style of play. Here you see they have a midfield block of three men, one being a defensive midfielder, Ward-Prowse pressing up high, and two strikers. This is from the Tottenham game. And if you see, Danny Ings is over here, accompanied by Shane Long. So Theo Walcott plays in that position of a support striker or a free player who will make those who is there to exploit that defensive error proneness, because not many natural defenders in the Liverpool squad out there tonight. So a lot of channels and a lot of half spaces would be created. So I think I believe Walcott has been put there to make use of that. So Kunalji, your thoughts on the thing, that will we see Southampton being pragmatic and sit back with the ball, be on the counters, because they have two pacey forwards, they have Genepo, the pace of wide. Do you think Southampton would be pragmatic, or they'll bloody go for it? What do you think?
The way they have lined up, they will play their natural game. That is one. But I think it's this game is a little bit more tactical because of two or three reasons. Uh, First one being that they don't have Yannick Westergaard anymore, right? Who was particularly winning a number of headers. I
Right,
think he
right.
was second or third in terms of winning the total number of headers. So that is one thing that they will badly miss. So because of that, now Liverpool don't have any aerial threat from Southampton at all today, right? So that's what I was pointing out to. That's why the thought of playing Henderson as a centre back has come in, because in the last two games we saw that Reece Williams and Nat Phillips on one or two occasions got beaten on pace. So I think that is the only reason
Right.
why Klopp has came out with that. Uh, so that's from a Southampton standpoint. They'll play between the lines. They'll basically look for channels and they will try and attack. Right, and
Mhm.
they have two good strikers up front, Shea Adams and Danny Ings, who will try and attack us at every given opportunity. Uh, Coming and also on the right hand side, it's an interesting one. Genepo, uh,
Right.
he has a very good pace as well. So he's the one who basically tries to get through the channel. I
Mhm.
have seen a few games where he has shown a lot of promise. He looks like Sadio Mane in his early days, kind of a guy.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
but yeah, more or less that it will be a very dimensional game from Southampton, but they are very good with their one-dimensional game. What I can say, right?
It's very effective
Coming,
what they play.
yes, absolutely. One point where I had a bit of a discussion with some of the Liverpool fans was their goalkeeper is not fully fit. Alex McCarthy, who
Right,
was their first goalkeeper for a very long time. Uh, so instead of that, they now have Fraser Foster, right? And
right,
while I was discussing this, some of the people said that some people said that it will be an advantage for us. The other said he might be a bit rusty. Those are all the negative points. But if you look at the three goalkeepers that they have, the third goalkeeper is Angus Gunn, who is not bad at all.
right,
So,
right,
and I think back in September was the time when Alex McCarthy had replaced Fraser Foster.
hmm,
And what the statements from the Southampton team came in was that our goalkeeping department is very competent. That's why Alex McCarthy is number one. And if you look at his performances also, those are very top notch. So I don't think there'll be too much of a problem in that regard. Although a lot of Liverpool fans were thinking that we'll get some advantage because of Alex McCarthy. Not That's not going to happen, in my opinion. The Coming to Liverpool now, what are we going to do? The way we have set up, and I think Neil also pointed out pretty well that uh, we don't have out and out defenders over there at the back right now.
right,
If we look at
right.
any defensive minded players, it's actually Fabinho who is the only one over there, and all the other guys are mostly they will be in transitions, right? Uh, I might expect Oxlade Chamberlain to fill in the gap once Trent Alexander Arnold goes up, but that will again also be in transition. Nothing, uh, I would say, too defensive about that. So obviously, Klopp has gone all gung ho, and another thing that is coming as a factor is our strikers haven't scored goal, right? And they must be feeling the pressure as well. So
Right.
they would be looking to attack and get some
But but
goals
that's the
under their
beauty of
name.
Liverpool, isn't it? Like whenever Liverpool has been in pressure, they have the most stellar performances this season, haven't they? Always they have, right? You never walk alone stands for something.
I hope we do that because the way it's going right now, it's becoming a problem. So, I mean, uh, there's one point that a lot of people are discussing these days, which is that what happened to the Liverpool goals? Why are they drying up, right? But if you look at the last two games, they were drastically very, very different.
Right.
The second last game that we played, that was, I would say that was not a good performance. We did not deserve to win that game, and rightly so, it was a draw. But the last game that we played, we did play very well. We did create chances in that, and in the end, it was all about not finishing them. So uh, it's a more of a inconsistent performance that's coming out from Liverpool, which is not very consistent thing with us. We do give very consistent performances. But I think that's what we will be looking out for today. We'll be expecting goals, at least two from, I mean, Salah or Mane. I would say two from each would be great. But
One assist
yeah,
from Robertson, hat trick from Salah. I'm happy for the night. FPL things,
okay.
no?
Yes, yes. But I think there's a lot of pressure that will be on them right now to score goals. And I think rightly so, the system will be suiting them. I would say it's more like a ultra attack of Liverpool versus uh, attack of Southampton is what it is happening today.
Questionable,
None of
questionable.
the teams are actually defensive.
Questionable. But I'll go to Neil on this, and he loves his tactics, and I know that for a certainty because half our calls are being tapped by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at times because whatever we spoke about, like I remember this very incident when Jose Mourinho took over the reins at Tottenham, and he said that Eric Dyer's career is going to be a turnaround, and bloody hell, that happened. They've shifted their formation as we discussed in a 4-2-3-1. Lucas started playing, and like what? Our phones are on taps or something. Well, but besides that, Neil, let me just okay. Mihik is gone. Matlab, connection issue hoga. Okay, we'll just stick with what happens. Okay, so I am now surrounded by two Liverpool fans, and it's not good news for a United fan to be surrounded by two Liverpool fans. Okay, Mihik is back. Chalo. Okay,
Yeah,
connection
yeah, got
errors, I guess.
disconnected. Yeah.
No problem. So Neil, I'm going with you on this. I have something highlighted over for you. I'm just going to bring up that slide. Here you see, this is how Southampton actually press. And the fact that Southampton, we were discussing how United were wary of Southampton's actual pressing, and Paul Pogba got caught off the ball, and how Scott McTominay and Fred were pivotal in that match because we need to run the midfield. We need to run the midfield. Last season, I remember Matic and Pogba playing in that match, and we were speaking pre-match, and we were saying that where is Fred and McTominay, because United would get run over by anything, that because Southampton were the most running team in the league. And now, since if you see in this slide how they press, they don't go necessarily for man to man. They have their zones, they have their areas on the pitch or the blocks that they need to cover. They need to go off the man, and suddenly you're in a box of, they set a trap, pressing high, keeping back, but suddenly they'll isolate that player who's not comfortable in that position or possession, and they'll go and press, and they do it in numbers. So Neil, tell me, is this going to work out with a shaky defense of, or whatever defense Liverpool has left tonight?
When I'm still stuck in Liverpool defensive lineup, though I wish I am proved wrong. I so wish that, because what I was thinking is the entire focus would remain on Theo Walcott and his immense pace that he has had since his, maybe in during his teens, and it hasn't dropped till now. So all the focus remaining on that, and he pressurizing the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, because we all know Trent is a brilliant passer, brilliant crosser, but he doesn't top the list when you talk about pace or tracking back and making a good defensive block. So we are all thinking about maybe that Walcott, maybe capitalizing on that and moving in on that. But I think we are forgetting the most important part, that you've just shown in this slide, that the way they set up the traps and the way they move in their players to press, and that is not a direct press that the Liverpool players have been doing. Liverpool players have always been going for the man-to-man, marking or man-to-man pressing. But the only reason why I see right now, it flashed in my mind that behind Walcott, you see a player named Armstrong. What he's gonna do is, when Walcott moves in to block the areas of Trent and maybe Henderson, uh, Armstrong would move in and block the passage for the third man or the second man. So you get your visions are narrowed, your options are narrowed, and the next thing you see is you have to go back to maybe Fabinho or Allison, where Danny Ings is waiting for you. That is a very, very horror story, and I so wish that I am wrong and nothing of this sort happens. But I think this is the most likely case, and we know how Ginepo runs over there on that right side of the field. But I'm much more worried about the left side, because defensively or pace wise, it's a bit weaker to our left hand of the side of the field. So I am really worried about that, because when I thought that Theo Walcott moving in and pressurizing Trent or maybe Hendo, and Armstrong blocking their passages for the second ball or the third ball, and that's very dangerous. And when you have got someone like the likes of Danny Ings, who finishes so neatly, so cleanly, scores goals for fun, it's a risk. It's a great risk. And at the same point of time, I think Thiago has to move in over there. Thiago has to do a lot of work today. Thiago has to show, that he is the one that we have been looking out for. He is the one that we all have been talking about. Where in any part of the world, we have been talking about this person coming into Liverpool, making some impact, making some grounds to stand for. I think he's got to do a lot tonight. He's really got to do a lot.
Definitely. And we'll take a comment. Rahul Singh, thanks for joining in. A subscribe would be amazing. I think this game is going to be critical for Ox's Liverpool career. He has to deliver tonight, or it's ciao. Mihik, do you agree with this comment?
I mean, it would be a bit harsh considering that he's just returned from injury, but if you look at the his overall Liverpool career, it's just it's you don't see a very big peak. It's just like small peaks and lows and then injury setbacks. So I mean, this is the ideal game. If and especially if he wants to be considered into the starting lineup for especially the crucial Champions League fixtures, which will be coming in about a month or so, then these are the games in which he has to step up and prove that he can be considered alongside the likes of Thiago. Because let's face it, Liverpool's midfield is the best. I would still say that Liverpool's midfield is the best in the league in terms of the overall depth we have, if not one of the best midfields in Europe. So getting into that midfield is no joke. So
Right.
I mean, you have to grab games like these by the scruff of the neck if you want to, get into those elusive three. Because Klopp does not play with four midfielders; he plays with three midfielders. You have to displace one of those three, and you have the added bonus of Fabinho will stay as a centre back until at least Gomez or Van Dijk comes back. So you have those three spots. You have to conquer them. And yeah, I guess this is do or die for Rocks in that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Mick, sticking with you, I'm just highlighting the tactical part again. Like Neil spoke, how well Southampton are organized. We have seen that. We have noticed that. Let's put this into a match situation. Okay. So we know they are very much pressing their pressing areas are on the wide side. They block that central passage and they press on towards the wide. Now,
Yeah.
suppose Liverpool's defense, probably Fabinho will play on the right hand part of the defense. Henderson is more comfortable on the left hand side. Suppose they press over here, there's a transition, they win the ball. And now, what worries me as a neutral is that Trent will be almost in midfield, and you have either Armstrong or Walcott free in the transition making those runs. And we know how deadly Ward Prowse's long passes are. And I saw that against United, I saw that against Chelsea, that he has slowly, regardless of his stature, he has started dictating games for Southampton, where and how most of the creative play that Southampton play actually come through out of him. And suddenly there's a cross-field ball on either wings wherever they try to isolate the defenders, isolate that man-for-man box pressing or whatever Raf Hasenhuttl implies in. We have seen him being implied. And suddenly there's a break in transition, not necessarily a counter-attack. It might work against them because Liverpool are one of the best transition setters in the Premier League for the last 2.5 or even 3.5 years. But suddenly, Trent out of position, Fabinho doing his natural defensive midfield-minded instinct, stepping up, lack of pace or positioning at the same time. Do you think Walcott will, again, going back to the topic of Walcott, do you think this setup where this is Southampton's basic pressing position, Walcott will have a field day today? I'm just getting the vibes of it, Mihik. What do you think?
I agree. I actually, when Neil was saying that he fears that the left side of our defense would be a bit exposed, I would technically disagree because, I mean, if you look at Robertson and the combination of Robertson and Mane, especially Mane, because Mane contributes a lot defensively. Whenever you see Liverpool games, I always note this that they work in tandem both offensively and defensively. And I have barely seen that fail. Like even we have seen this against the best of right-sided attacks. You see the Wolves game where you were dealing with Adama Traore. And I didn't see any struggle at all on the left. It depends on
Connection.
Actually, I think Mihik actually misunderstood my words.
Okay,
I was talking. Okay, so
yeah. Sorry, you were saying something?
yeah. So I think misunderstood me at some point because I was saying from the opposition's left-hand side, so our right-hand side. I was talking about Trent.
My bad.
Yeah, Trent and Hendo, or maybe Trent or some other place, because Trent doesn't have that a lot of pace to move into defenses, or doesn't have a great blocking consistency. So I was talking about our right-hand side, so opposition's left-hand side.
Okay, my bad. So that's what I'm saying, that the right-hand side is going to be, vulnerability, and maybe we could even see wingers being swapped. Maybe Djenepo comes on the left, Walcott comes on the right, and vice versa, just to give Trent two, different players to deal with. And I guess that would mean more defensive responsibility for Salah, and we have seen that Salah at most times has to come back and assist Trent, whenever such lapses happen. And yeah, I feel that the right hand side of the Liverpool defense will be something to look at, and Walcott could cause havoc there.
Now Walcott, we have seen he's an old guard right now. It feels very old myself to see that when I started watching football, Walcott around 2004-5, Walcott was just coming through the veins, and what an amazing career he has had, starting from Arsenal, Everton, and now Southampton. He did not reach the heights that what was expected of him, but he's nonetheless a thorn in this side. So cutting all that, we'll just move on to the prediction section right now. But before that, whoever has just joined in, a like and a subscribe would be amazing. 300 subs target, दिसंबर में target था. चलो 2020 गया, कोई बात नहीं. 2021 में जल्दी से जल्दी 20 एकदम 300 सब्सक्राइबर मार दो. 1000 पे पहुंचते ही रसगुल्लास for every subscriber. चलो on my treat. So the predictions part of things will go in one by one. It's a crucial. Probably I can call it a 6-pointer, but maybe Southampton might just be happy with 1 point. They come up against the reigning champions. And starting with Kunalji, what do you think is going to be the proceedings of today? Prediction time. Mute.
Yeah.
Better.
I think it's going to be an exciting game. My prediction is 3-1 for us. I do see Southampton scoring a goal on a counter attack, although they are more of a possession-based team than a counter-attacking team. But given how we'll set up today and how we'll play, they will definitely score a goal. However, I think our forward line and we are also going very ultra-attacking. One thing I did not point out during the discussion was, I think we missed out that point, was our lack of shots on target. And I think when Rahul asked that, why Oxlade-Chamberlain, it could be his last game, is probably because he's the one who basically takes the shots outside the box quite a lot. So, I mean, a lot of expectation from him on that front. And second,
I remember when being a United fan during the Man City game, I was talking to
yes.
Nidhi about this, that when Ox actually put in that screamer, I being a United fan shouted on the top of my lungs, waking up my grandma, whatever happened. But that goal was bloody something. Like, we die for moments of football like this, and that's the essence, that's the pride that we have in seeing such beautiful teams playing. Rivalries aside, you just cannot not appreciate beautiful football and a beautiful
Yeah,
goal
and the
like that.
best part about that goal was, of course, it was an important fixture, but as fans, I never knew that Ox really had that kind of a foot. And all of a sudden, he comes in an important game and just blasts it so easily. So that's what we'll be looking at, because the last two games that we have drawn, we have had more than 70% possession each of those games, and then shots on target were 4 and 2 respectively. So which is very, very low.
Very
So
much unlike of Liverpool.
yeah, so we do expect a lot of shots on. I do expect a lot of shots on target today, specifically from Oxlade-Chamberlain, given that he has that foot to score those goals outside the box.
It would be needed to break those low block of Southampton. Okay, going over to Neil, prediction time for you. But before that, I would like to say, I was doing this podcast about Manchester City versus Chelsea and how Manchester City line up with that false nine of an approach. I thought Chelsea would run rings around them, but it was a entirely different scoreline, entirely different match. We can talk all about things on paper. It might seem the glitz and the glamour and the predictions, the tactical stuff, but what happens on the pitch. And Liverpool are a team, are champions, are defending champions, top of the league. Don't you think that this should be like something Liverpool have been doing for the last 2.5 seasons? It should be not necessarily comfortable, because I remember you remember the fact that United had gone on to Champions League against Wolfsburg with a defense of Patrice Evra, Michael Carrick, and Darren Fletcher, and we won that match 3-0 with Michael Owen scoring a hat trick. Your Michael Owen scoring a hat trick. And he won the title that year later on. Puns aside, don't you think that the character, the mentality would just be too much for Southampton?
Um, you know, when you started talking about uh, lineups and the score prediction, the first thing that hit my mind was it either has got to be a draw, or maybe we would be winning by 4-1 or 5-1, because I do have a solid reason for it. Might sound outrageous, but I have a solid reason for it. See, as I mentioned, we just have only one defensive minded player, and look at the other players. They're all either great at passing, or great at shooting, or great with their foot at running around all over the pitch. We know the strengths that Ox has. I saw the question of whether it's the last game for Ox or not. We paid a hefty amount for Ox, and I think both Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp are smart enough to know that by this time that Ox is an injury-prone player. It's known to all of us, and it's done and dusted over there. Still paying around 35 to 40 for that player who's coming from a rival team. That I think he has something in his mind while doing such things. It could be a big scoreline for us, because look at the potential goal scorers that we have over here. Look at those. Look at the team who can score goals out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And I don't think if such kind of mentality Liverpool players are having, or Klopp is having at this point of time, uh, Southampton won't see it coming. Southampton won't see it coming at all. And if it backfires, well, then it's a draw, because I'm not settling for a loss. I know that we won't lose. I have that much confidence in Liverpool. So maybe a draw, maybe a 1-1, or maybe a 4-1. It varies from that. And adding up to the point that we have so much less shot on goals. uh, I was looking at a few of Salah's finishes, or rather his attempt to finishes, especially in the last few matches, except the Crystal Palace one, obviously. I felt that he was literally struggling to get a curl or out of his foot. The simple finishes which he was very used to do. He can close his eyes, and he can be in Egypt and make that finish easily. But he was not able to do that. He was completely out of that. He's trying to make a curl, but the ball is going straight off to a corner or maybe something else. I think somewhere down the line, maybe the confidence is lacking, though he has a tremendous number of goals already this season. But I think it's time where we should be looking at the likes of Minamino, Origi. I mean, they're not bad of a players at all, but completely relying on Firmino. And we all know, no matter how much we brag about Firmino, we know that as a striker, we can have, or we have seen better strikers than Firmino. So I think Origi and Minamino should get some time as well, because they deserve it. They deserve it. I mean, the purpose of Minamino when Salzburg came in and almost destroyed us, Leipzig and Salzburg, but almost destroyed us, Salzburg. So Klopp saw something in him. He took him instead of Erling Haaland. So I hope he gets his time. I just hope that, instead of just relying completely on Firmino.
That's a very, very big claim. That's a very big claim, if you ask me, Neil. But come on, Mihik. The last prediction of the day that we'll take, match is just 7 minutes away from kickoff. Mihik,
Yeah.
prediction time.
There's one thing as a Liverpool fan which I cannot ignore, and it's kind of a jinx that and this has been going on not for just this season, but like a few seasons. And this is that whenever the first choice keeper of the opposition is injured and the second choice keeper comes up to the fore, he has a blinder against us. And this is a trend. This is a trend which has been carrying on, and this is something I just cannot ignore. This is just I cannot ignore this. And this has happened for, I mean, I don't know. If I start counting, I won't even remember. But it's Foster today. It was Darlow last time. It has been Emi Martinez in the past for Arsenal. So there are many cases like this, and I'm fearing that Fraser Foster is going to have the game of his life against us. And honestly, our finishing hasn't convinced me past few games. I can see this being a game with a lot of good high quality chances, but I fear it's going to end up 1-1. So 1-1 is my prediction.
So, okay, I predict it would
Yep.
be a pushover for Liverpool, a 3-1 or a 4-1, as Neil said. Okay, the curse of the power cut has hit, and I think Kunalji has lost his electricity right now. But last question for the day that I'll ask to Kunalji is: do you think that in the situation we are hearing rumors about Real Madrid coming in for Salah, do you think that Liverpool would be smart enough to cash in on Salah at this point of time, considering Mbappe 2022 is quite a possible reality? Kunalji? He's there or he's not there.
I think he
Neil,
is
carry on. Carry on.
Uh, I would definitely love if either Salah or Mane moves out at this window, or maybe the upcoming summer window, because hands down, 1 year or 2 years later, we won't get any money for them. Okay, maybe this season, if we see them off, we get 100 to 130 million. We can bring in the likes of Haaland or maybe Sancho or maybe anybody to strengthen our midfield, our front line. I would like, and Liverpool has been very smart regarding
Sancho,
the
please.
transfers. Sancho, okay, we'll spare you that anyway. But Liverpool has been very smart with their transfer tactics as well. We sold Coutinho, we got some great players in on place of that. So I think if Salah or Mane leaves with giving us 120 or 140 million in our bank, I think we would be just capitalizing on it and getting in 2 to 3 great players. And a few of them are already in my mind. There's a certain player called Shores. He's playing at the center back for Ajax. I love that guy, and also I know that smile on your face. Ajax's right winger Anthony. Yeah, I know that smile. Yeah, he's another guy that we are looking forward to. So let's see, let's see. I would love to if Liverpool cashes in at this point of time, because nowhere in the next season or the after we won't be getting so much money for them. So it would be smart enough for them to just bank in the amount right now.
Now, Michael Edwards is not Ed Woodward. So it's very much common knowledge that this would be the proceedings of things, because Liverpool need quite a few players. So with that note, just 3 minutes left. I'll spare you guys off of my podcast, and it was a pleasure hosting you, Mihik, Neil, both of you. Thanks for joining in at such short notice, and do share this with your friends. I started this endeavor, and actually the name of this channel was suggested by Neil himself, so we were discussing this thing. And okay, we'll just take one last comment. Okay, might Lasky, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Hey, I live in Belarus. I love Man United. I see a very cool Liverpool game. I respect all English football, and I hope to fight in the championship until the very end. Thanks, Mike, for joining in. A subscribe would be amazing. Love to see you on the channel. Would hope that you join us in a podcast very soon. Do connect with me on Twitter. It's podcast with Neil or @Neil__7. Just have a check. You'll find that out. And thank you all for joining in. Cheers now. Wish you all a good game. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Bye.
So that was pretty much it. And okay, Neil has come back. I'll just remove him from the screen again. Okay. So that was pretty much about it from this session. This is Netflix Football Podcast with Neil, with your boy. And I think this is going to be a fun game, a title challenge. And this is open at this point of time. And it would be amazing if Liverpool drop points, being a United fan. But being a neutral, I see that Liverpool, the mentality they have, the squad strength they have, and the passion they have for the game to be completely overpowering for Southampton. Just too much, just too much. Real Fascinatul, however much you have contributed to the game this Premier League season, I think Liverpool would be a formidable opposition against you. And even on your best, Liverpool don't need to be on their second or third gears to beat a team like Southampton. Come on, it's your academy, right? You can't just lose a game against your academy. So with all that nonsense and bullshit, please drop a subscribe and a like, share this with your friends, and see you soon, very soon. United City Derby, tune in for that. We have some special guests coming up. And chalo, 1 minute left for the match. Go tune in. Bye bye for now.